we're recording and transcribing everything, right? So this is part of making this accessible to everybody, even if they can't attend. So be aware. Good, and Richard's joined, very good. And I see people have worked out the chat, that's fantastic. So as you're sort of networking as part of the first bit, you might want to pop your LinkedIn in there as a way to continue to communicate. So there's, based on the survey that we did at the beginning, there's quite a focus on the networking bits. Right, so we'll get started in about a minute. Good attendance. Thank you very much for coming. That's a really good turnout for the first session already. So as I've mentioned, this is being recorded and it is being transcribed by Gemini. There's a cool new Gemini came out this week, so we're making use of that. And just to reiterate about why we're here. So this is a vendor neutral, practical, action focused group for housing AI. This isn't about AI for AI's sake. It's about measurable value and systems thinking, right? So we have vendors and consultants here too. They're an important part of the ecosystem. Please, if you're a vendor or a consultant, please do not use this for sales, even outside of the meeting. This will damage our trust, right? So we need to work together and not do that. So thank you for not doing that. So in terms of what I think we should be getting out of this is a bit about what AI can do for us right now, what it might unlock next year, and where it could take us further down the line. And today we're going to cover a lot of ground, very shallow, very fast, okay? Because that's part of this sort of sensing about what's going on and where the need is. So I'd like to share just a little bit about some of the top themes from the pre-session survey to set some of the context. And then we'll go straight into the quick fire intros where each of us will introduce ourselves. So the top things, almost everybody asked for peer connections. So the opening block that we've got here is about speed networking, essentially, so that you can find people in similar roles with similar challenges to you. And that's part of why we're doing this LinkedIn thing, is so that then you can connect. And if somebody else is struggling with Copilot, you can go and talk to them, right? And this is trying to decentralize, get people to connect and upskill. So the other big thing that was spoken about was risk and governance and fear and AI anxiety. That was another really big theme, as was data readiness. And that's part of why we've invited these speakers. So I think you'll find these speakers are going to cover a big range of topics, again, very shallow, but I'm hoping that's going to bring some of the insights that you're after, or at least point towards some of those insights. Half of respondents wanted real world case studies, and that's part of, again, why we've got these speakers in to share some of that. At the end of the session, we're going to reflect on this session so that we can make the next session maximally useful, right? The next session or whatever artifacts or whatever it is that we want to do. Probe, sense, respond. And this is all about customer value at the end of the day. Let's never forget that. So, so the prompt for our icebreaker is to introduce yourself, what brought you here, and what's one AI challenge or opportunity that you're focusing on right now. So I guess we'll just go around. So perhaps I'll start while people think about it. So I'm Guy. I'm here because I got really annoyed with the lack of coordination in terms of how we're using AI in housing, and what the opportunity that I'm focusing on right now is how we can get system level improvement using digital technology in housing. And this is part of what I'm trying to do to think about that. So perhaps speakers, if you go first, that'll break the ice a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. Sorry, I got in there first. So I'm Mark Shepherd. I'm head of data performance and information security at Yorkshire Housing. So I'm here really part of this group because I want to learn about the sort of challenges and opportunities others have had around AI and pick up some good use cases for it in housing, really. And in terms of where my thinking is at the moment, I'm really interested in how we use AI to reduce transactional effort, both sort of internally within our organisation and in our interactions with our customers, so we could put more focus on the value added.
Okay, I'll go next. Thanks, Mark. I'm Steve Dungworth. I am involved in several projects, but I'm here today with my Open Data Exchange hat on, and we are campaigning for the use of open, shared and collaborative data, particularly for the benefit of tenants.
I can jump in next. Hi there, my name's Emily Shaw and I'm the product lead at Plentific. I'm really excited to have a forum actually, guys, so thank you for setting this up. Have a forum to collaborate with people who are interested in this topic and discussing opportunities within the sector.
Is it just me left? I think so. So yeah, I'm Rich Hawkes. I'm head of data analytics and AI at Platform Housing Group. I'm a bit frustrated because AI is quite easy to get hold of. In a usable context, I want to be able to share some of that. But in terms of challenges, for me, it's all about having high quality data, because it so often comes back down to garbage in, garbage out.
Brilliant. So now it's open season, so please do a similar introduction. Thanks.
I'll jump in first then. Steve Jones, I'm data analysis lead at Riverside. Got a couple of data scientists working for me. Like Richard, data quality is one of the big issues we're facing. The other one I'm facing is organizational risk appetite, and machine learning and AI being a big scary thing that's going to eat everyone, and we're fighting up against that, really.
I'll go if that's right. Mark Beach, Director of Customer Experience in Communities. Started playing around with Copilot and various AI functions at our organisation. I'm very interested in the customer benefits of this. Bit like Mark said, transactional waste, make it easier for customers, but also, sentiment analysis, feedback, that kind of thing, and really making more of that through AI.
Hi, I'm Alison Piggin. I'm the Director of ICT and Business Improvement at MSV Housing. Probably very much what Mark has said, but I think everybody's kind of looking at me and IT for coming up with what those use cases are and what we might be able to do. So yeah, it feels like there's a lot on my shoulders of something that's very new. So it'll be really great to have that collaboration and see what we might be able to use and how we might be able to use it. We have got Copilot at the moment, but we're not really using it anywhere near to its full potential. So yeah, just interested in the collaboration piece and use case.
I'll go next then. I'm Ian Phillips, Head of IT at North Devon Homes. Bit like Alison, I'm about to start a Copilot trial really, but before I spend that money on the licenses, I want to really define a package of expected benefits for our organisation. And then at the wider piece, I actually want to then start seeing how we can deliver better services to customers using AI. So
I'll go next. I'm Andy Johnson. I'm the Director of IT at Beacon Cymru Housing Group. So we're quite a new housing association that's just joined this. Well, it's been formed this year from the merger of two other housing associations in Wales. So for me, we're kind of in a very nice, unique opportunity, really, where we're reviewing everything. So obviously, AI is one of those subjects that's come up with our new board. And I'm in the interesting position, really. I'm being kind of pushed along as well, really, by some of our staff who've taken it upon themselves to run out and start using AI tools, much to the panic and worry of people in exec and on the board. So yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I think there's a lot of promise from AI, and I've read quite a few case studies that have been published by other people, and I suppose it's trying to find the best way forward really for us in housing to see what we can leverage and what makes the biggest impact really for our tenants.
I can jump in next if you like. I'm Nick Pears, Head of IT at Clwyd Allen Housing. Similar to everyone else, really, we're sort of on this journey. We're doing bits and pieces with Copilot and some of the other Microsoft Stack type of things. Again, just trying to sort of see what else is going on in the sector, really, and yeah, just be a part of it, really.
Yeah, I'll jump in next then. Michael McCarroll at Gen2 Group up in Sunderland. So I'm head of IT service management and infrastructure, and we're at the early stages of our AI journey. We've our strategy in place, and about to start off with desktop productivity. in Copilot, which we're kicking off in the next few weeks. And as an aside, I'm also a PhD student, interested in looking at what the impact of AI is on the workforce of the future.
Okay, I'm Anne Taylor. I'm the Chief Exec of Thorngate Church and Trust. We're a very small housing association and also a care provider through our care home. I'm interested in thinking about how small providers can use AI from case studies that hopefully I'll see from other guys. And also we have a huge number of data points from our care service because there's so much more data recorded there, and I'm also looking at AI in that regard as well with the vendors from our care package people.
Hi, I'm Scott Crawley. I'm an independent consultant, usually helping local authorities and housing associations with various IT projects, procurements and strategy and program project management. So I'm generally interested in seeing what others are doing to help advise clients. I've recently used some of the LLMs for progressing my knowledge on SSRS reporting, which is a kind of niche thing that a client asked me to do, and I found it to be quite useful as long as you know enough of the core to ask it some complex questions, and you get potentially more specific responses than you might from, say, a Google search. I'm concerned, like Rich Hawks, about people using AI or kind of jumping on the bandwagon and kind of sidelining some of the other things they need to be doing, like data quality. So I am concerned about decision based on AI, but equally there's lots of automation opportunities. So I'm quite interested to hear what others are exploring. I also have some interesting ethical questions around it, which it'd be interesting to kind of perhaps use the group to get some kind of common guidance for organisations on how people should use things and be aware of the risks.
Hi, I'll go next. Sorry.
No, you go.
I'm Mags. I work for DTP. I'm also on the Audit and Risk Committee for a very small housing provider. I've been in housing 30 years, and I'm just curious. It's my FOMO. I want to know what I'm missing out on because I'm not really using AI very much. So I'm curious. I want to understand the risks and the opportunities, and I want to, I guess, help the sector sort of get the most out of it.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm an operational improvement officer working at Hillcrest in Scotland, and I'm mostly hoping to get out of this. We're again quite early in our AI journey. We're pulling together policies and strategies to help us really help staff understand what it is first and foremost, what it isn't, and then guide our journey forward on that. What I'm really hoping to get out of this kind of forum is collaboration. We're all very, housing associations especially, are very good at talking about we want to work collaboratively, but then we don't actually put that into, we don't act on that in any way. So I'm hoping that we can, through this and through forums like this, we can start seeing more of
that. I'll go next if that's okay. Steve Wilson, Business Intelligence Manager at Vico Homes, formerly WDH. We just changed company names in the last few weeks. Yeah, like everybody else, at the start of the AI journey, I've got a data scientist starting shortly, and just thought, if nothing else, it'll improve my my understanding and slight skepticism of AI. So yeah, really looking forward to these sessions.
Can I just jump in there as well? I am Siobhan. I'm going to follow Steve's act. Good morning, everyone, and it's really great to meet you all. I'm Siobhan Wakeman. I'm Director of Business Intelligence and Change at Vico Homes. It's a really exciting time for us. We've just launched a new vision, a new brand, and we're really going places. We've got a chief exec who's very, very technology savvy, and we really want to mobilise AI ethically and at pace. We want to use it to improve productivity, experience, customer and colleague, and to drive efficiency. And really, for me, the value of this forum is about sharing ideas, sharing experiences, and not reinventing the wheel. So thank you. It's great to meet you all.
Hello. I'm Richard Sage. I'm the Director of Technology, Data and Change at Saffron Housing. I guess what brought me here is, like a lot of you, just wanting to understand what other people are up to and thinking about in terms of challenges, and stuff we're focusing on is actually really just thinking about, from like a policy and guidance perspective, how might we use these tools and navigate the ethical implications of them in terms of environmental impact, in terms of bias baked into these systems, in terms of theft of intellectual property. So that's sort of like on one shoulder, that's one area, but also there's so much opportunity from the tools and from the early work that we've done. So just balancing those sort of two competing things, I think, is something that's in my head. So it'll be really interesting to hear if other people how other people are dealing with that sort of dilemma.
If I can jump in. Morning, everybody. I'm Peter Lumio. I'm one of the members of an initiative called DASH, which stands for Demystifying AI for Social Housing. Our panel of experts are working with associations and boards and exec teams to figure out, as you've quite rightly said, how AI can be used safely, meaningfully for the benefits of tenants. The challenge that we are seeing, clearly, by the number of people who have turned up today, there's a lot of interest, but we feel there's not enough confidence and understanding, that leaders don't feel ready, whether that's governance, ethics, or just knowing where to start. So our focus is to bridge that gap by providing free, tailored assessments, playbooks, and practical examples. And it's great to see you all, and thanks, Guy, for organising this.
Hi, I'm Vicky Evans, Head of Business Transformation at Clwyd Allen. I suppose what brought me here was meeting you guys at the dinner event, and we were one of those housing associations that raised our hands saying we were trialling Copilot, but maybe not necessarily sharing some of the learnings that we've got so far. So it's just about, learning's best practice and collaboration for us, and I suppose understanding what other people are doing to bring sort of teams and residents along on that change journey with it.
I'll jump in there after Vicky. Paul Taylor, Project Manager at Clwyd Allen, within Vicky's team of the business transformation, just looking to broaden my knowledge and network of people.
Well, hello. Go ahead.
Morning, everyone. Dean Harris, Director of Digital Data and Technology from WHG, which is Walsall Housing Group. We have, like most people, we're playing around with Copilot to a certain degree, Teams Improvement and all that kind of good stuff. But we're currently in the midst of building an AI opportunity roadmap with a trusted partner, going across and interviewing sort of across the organisation to build use cases. We've recently had some people qualify in AI governance, which is quite an interesting topic with a lack of formal regulation in there. And my sort of keen interest is more to understand what we can do in away from personal productivity and look at those business processes and actually the opportunity around, significantly improving how we do business from an architectural and process phase rather than at the individuals. And then how do we use that to manage, the breadth of supplier sprawl of AI being built into every product, whether it is or isn't, and bringing those control elements to there. So, morning.
So hi, I'm Aldwin. I'm Senior BI Analyst at Groskey's Homes. So I come from the data side and how we use the data to kind of improve business processes, etc. Within Groskey's Homes, we've only kind of really dipped our toe into AI. We've done a little proof of concept piece of work where we would enrich free text data and kind of turn that into category data, so labeling text and things like that, to see whether we can get TSMs and transactional feedbacks into something that I can report on, because I'm kind of a Power BI guy at heart. My interest is mostly about bringing AI. So we worked on the Azure AI Foundry to deploy models, and it's about bringing that into the low-code environment that me, myself, and people in the team are familiar with, so that we can, again, like Dean mentioned, get that working at scale within our organization. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris Watterson. I work for a consultancy called Ranek, and I've done a lot of AI implementation outside of social housing to the wider property sector. I've seen the impacts that that can have. So I'm really excited that this seems to be driving momentum and knowledge sharing. I'm currently working on 3 or 4 use case implementations, including a tool at the moment to improve surveyor productivity by having them look at the areas where jobs are likely to have issues, either quality or cost issues, to try and make them more productive by focusing on the right areas. Good to meet you all.
Hi everyone, Tom Lansfield here. I'm lead for social housing at Salesforce. It's always really interesting to understand, obviously, what the sector's doing, but also challenges, blockers that you have as well, so that we can think about, as a tech company, what things and resources we can provide, and also use cases and best practice from other industries to help you be able to get benefit and scale the technology as well. So nice to meet you all.
I'll jump in. I'm Jamie Hopkins, Assistant Director of IT over at Orwell Housing. Like Anne, we've got quite a large care and support side of the business, so lots of data silos. We're quite a traditional HA, so we've got lots of manual processes and different entry points. So we know AI can bring a lot of advantages. I guess the bit I'm struggling with at the moment is that balance between, we've done a huge amount of work to try to improve data security and data governance and all of that data protection world over the last few years. And it feels like this is a massive door that's just been opened to undo all of that good work we've done. So how do we balance up that, keeping our data and information secure, but leveraging the advantages that AI brings? And that's the debate I'm having in my head at the moment.
Can I jump in? Hello, my name is Neil Force. I'm founder of IoT Solutions Group. I'm here to better understand the sector appetites for AI, perceived challenges, barriers, but more importantly, as a data insight provider, how we can better align our organisation to meet the sector needs for our mutual success.
Hey everyone, I'll jump in now. I'm Evelina, R&D engineer here at OnGo. So at the minute we're looking into AI within the organisation. We already use it in some of the areas, but we're also looking into potential opportunities where we could utilise AI. So I think it's just mainly for me to come here and, you know, utilise this forum, see what others are doing and that kind of thing.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Berry. I'm Senior Product Manager with a company called Tech Labs London. So our iProperty cloud solution is built on the Microsoft Dynamics platform, which has a number of kind of AI agent out-of-the-box capabilities, so real-time sentiment analysis, that kind of option. Really here just to understand, as other people are sector challenges, you know, as a tech company, how can we help with those, and yeah, how can we all work together to ultimately benefit our customers?
Can I jump in? So my name is Joe Brune. I'm the Managing Director of UK Business Events Limited, which probably won't mean anything to most of you, but we're the publisher of Housing Digital. So myself and Mark Contrell, my editor, are here to listen, to learn, to support Guy with this initiative as much as we can in terms of media exposure, basically. Obviously, think it's great what he's doing here, and keen to support that on a personal basis, not really related to social housing as such. But we are in the process of migrating over to Google Workspace, mainly for the use of Gemini for some of the AI applications and benefits around project management and streamlining workflows for the team as a publisher. And yeah, just keen to listen and learn, really. We'll learn more about how the sector is, what the uptake is for AI across the sector.
Excellent.
Nice to meet you all. My name's Jacob Treasure. I work for BWA based in Leeds. I'm quite new to the industry, but I can see kind of the potential and benefits of AI. So just looking to see kind of the use cases and see how it can be integrated within my role and the company, really. Thank you.
Brilliant. If that's everybody, so there's been some intros in the chat as well. So thanks for those that are preferring to express themselves in text rather than in verbal natural language. So we've got 4 speakers lined up for you now. There were a lot of applications for speakers, which is fantastic to see. And so I've tried to put together a range so that we can have lots of different perspectives and different experiences. So we've got them in an order here, which is Steve Dungworth, Emily Shaw, Mark Shepherd, and Richard Hawkes. So probably go through in that order. So it's about 5 minutes, and then probably at the end of that, of all 4, we'll do a Q&A where people can direct to each person, and you can also put questions or comments in the chat. So Steve, if you're good to go, then please do.
That's great. Honoured to be the first speaker. Thank you very much. I've dropped some details about the Open Data Exchange in the chat. I won't go into great detail here. We're campaigning for greater collaboration in social housing on open and shared data sets. So, you know, more than collaboration than just talking about it, we want people to work together. And we think there's lots of use cases. We're currently focused on property data because we think tenant satisfaction is intrinsically linked to the quality of the home. We're not particularly AI evangelists, but we do recognise the potential of the tool to develop. So here's a bit of a disruptive challenge to everybody. If you ask an asset manager or an executive about their housing portfolio, you'll likely hear about the decent home standard. It's not unusual for organisations to say that they have 100% of their stock that's decent, but that tells us very little about the real challenges or practical solutions. So the very definition of decent, I think, has been under review for about 2 decades now. So what would happen if we graded homes on a scale of 1 to 10? Like service satisfaction scores, hotel reviews, hospital pain points, sports performance assessments. It's a common phenomenon in most of our life. So if you ask that question of an executive or an asset manager, it sparks a really great debate, I think. So who should be scoring? Is that a resident, a surveyor, a housing officer? And what exactly are we scoring? Is it the fabric of the building, the components, or the living environment? But if you have that debate, and I've had that debate with several executives, it's striking how naturally people could distinguish between, say, a 4 and a 7. They will start to talk about, yeah, we've got a number in 4, number in 7, and they can differentiate quite easily between the good, bad, and the middle properties. So in our formal trials, factors such as age, energy efficiency, pain points like the frequency of repairs, and the wider neighbourhood does influence the scores. We haven't asked residents yet, but we're curious to see how their perceptions align. So we're interested in how AI could define and calibrate the scale from 1 to 10. How would you use the data that you have to distinguish between a 10, a 9, or a 4? Make assessments on the data. So could we come up with a score based purely on the data that we already have, or would that demonstrate the gaps that we had? Could we use it to improve the data quality and consistency so that we know what's missing and which data is not particularly useful? And we'll be able to cross-validate scores through multiple sources. If you do some sort of assessment and get 2 or 3 people talking about it, they're likely to have different scores, but be able to justify the differences within it. So what would be the approach for this challenge? We even think asking the question would gain a shared understanding of the different uses and types of AI. And I guess our call to action is there a number of housing associations, housing providers who are willing to work together, 3 to 5 housing associations, and work with some suppliers to do some sort of research and development or some sort of pilot using AI that might give us a use case that we can demonstrate back to the sector. Thank you very much. That's my little pitch. Any questions from anybody?
I think probably we'll consolidate the questions at the end, because it might be that there's some intersectional things that we can come up with. So we'll probably just move straight on to Emily, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I do have a few slides, so I'll share my screen. So yeah, I'm the product lead at Plentific. We're a property operations platform, and we've been looking at a number of AI options and that we can bring into our product to help our users do their work more efficiently. I wanted to touch today on a particular case study that we're working on at the moment and some of the challenges we've had around it. So we've got actually quite a few AI-powered features already within our product. These are kind of bits we've already worked on. So we've developed a machine learning algorithm that's continually training based on pricing used for work orders in our platform, and we indicate to you when we think you're kind of slightly above market rate, below market rate for the trade. We've also done kind of the standard and very familiar now tools to help clients and users of our platform elaborate or give more details on their diagnostics using Gen AI. And also summarising work orders. These are just a few of the features, and the diagnostic one is both resident facing and staff facing. I think someone mentioned resident facing tools at the moment. So we kind of dipped our toe into some areas of AI that are already quite like familiar for people now in terms of summarisation and writing assistance. But something we're working on at the moment and we've had some challenges with, and I'll go into these, is a co-pilot support to help you review completion reports. So the way our platform works is that at the end of every work order, the contractor needs to submit a completion report about the job. It'll be familiar to most of you, that sort of process. It's some free text, it's before, during and after photos, and then that report is signed off or not by surveyors. But it's often quite a bit of a time-consuming process because you need to understand the context of the job, the final invoice that's been given, whether kind of the pricing is accurate. So there's a number of kind of multimodal elements to it when looking at this from an AI lens. So looking at text and the images and videos provided, but also the tabular data, so the structured quotes and invoices on the job, and also context around the chat. The conversation that's been going on, obviously, over the time of a work order, the scope can change. So we had a hypothesis that, you know, we can firstly prevent poor quality completion reports landing on property managers' desks in the first place by prompting contractors to fill them in better, and therefore reducing some workload. But also when those reports do land on people's desks, the hypothesis being that we can use AI to kind of co-pilot or recommend a sign-off or not, based on what the AI understands about the context of the report. But it's been quite challenging. We're still working on it, but we have had some challenges that I wanted to share. So firstly, like, the challenge is of the scope of the task itself. It's not a trivial task looking at kind of multimodal offerings because of the sheer like volume of data points within a single completion report, as well as the context of the work order history and quotes and things that I mentioned previously. So that kind of the overarching scope was really difficult in the first place. But also we've encountered some well-known issues around like reproducibility with using LLMs. So using them as kind of a binary classifier has always got its challenges, and they don't excel at being kind of statistically viable classifiers necessarily, because there's a bit of a degree of variability in some of the output you get. So obviously when we're thinking to kind of bring features to product level, the proof of concept is great, and actually our POCs have worked quite well, but actually standardizing that and productizing it in a way that means our platform users will get really consistent and reliable results has been quite challenging. Obviously for users it really needs to be reliable so that they trust the functionality we're bringing in the platform, right? So kind of that switch between a POC versus productizing something that's scalable and consistent is something we're battling with. Speed, another issue, latency problems. So while the image analysis offered by Gen AI tools is really great, it can be a bit slow. Some of our completion reports contain lots and lots of images, sometimes into the hundreds. And again, switching from a POC to a product, you don't want to be sat as a user kind of waiting for something to happen and for the analysis to take a long time. So we're doing a lot of work to bring that speed down as much as we can, so that people get kind of the best output. And the way we've been doing that is by testing different models, because you do get a balance between the output that the image analysis gives and also the speed that the model works at. So we've been playing with various models. And then the final point I wanted to touch on was more around availability. We have been using, predominantly we've been using OpenAI, obviously kind of within our own ring fence environment, but the demand on their APIs that we're integrating with is massive, and they're having stability issues and a lot of downtime. If you go on OpenAI status page, the API is often like down, got performance issues. So I think they're just some of the challenges I wanted to share. We are still working on it, and very actively working on it, but I think from my point of view, we really want to make sure that if we do bring something to product level, it obviously needs to be reliable. So something we also have to factor in when we're thinking about development is around kind of the continuous validation and risk of drift over time. Were we to release something, you have to manage that ongoing drift, because the data is changing all the time, that new completion reports, standards also change as well. Clients sometimes pivot to a bit more of a rigorous approach on certain topics, like if legislation changes, they might review things more thoroughly in certain areas. So lots of considerations, lots of challenges, but we're still plugging away at it and trying to get some results. So wanted to share that with you all. Hope that was helpful, and I'd be really interested in chatting about other challenges people have had. So thank you.
Brilliant, thanks for that. Mark, you're up next.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm going to talk about where we are with our AI strategy, but there's been a few comments about governance and policy, so I want to talk about why we pivoted to strategy from policy, really. So when we started off on our AI journey at Yorkshire Housing, there was the instinct was to go on the defensive around AI, and I was definitely guilty of that as well. And the kind of noise that I was hearing from our leadership and our board and the wider sector and beyond was about policy. We need an AI policy, this kind of reticence and nervousness around it. So I started thinking about that and breaking that down and what that's about. It's about data breaches, putting personal or sensitive information into AI and it feeding back into models, misuse, unethical decision making, like unchecked AI models, and then and a little bit about AIs coming to take our jobs and all those kind of things. So and I started to think about that, and a couple of those I felt like we've covered off in existing policies. So data breaches, misuse of IT and all those, we've got data security policies, we've got acceptable IT use policies and all those kind of things. I didn't feel like we needed to cover all ground on that. And in terms of the kind of AI taking jobs and those kind of things, I thought that was just an education and awareness piece. So we need to help people understand what AI is and how they use it. And I think a real shift in thinking came for me when I heard kind of anecdotally that there were colleagues who were using AI on the phone and taking photos of work things and then using AI there. So I was like, the horse has bolted on this. It's out there, people are using it, and we need to think about how we can encourage people to use it in the right way. So we pivoted away from policy there into strategy to focus on not restricting people, but enabling responsible use around that. So a big focus then on education, sort of helping colleagues understand how to use AI wisely. And then the AI strategy, or really a sub-strategy, then became a kind of a supporting strategy of our data and tech strategies, linking at that almost like the third tech pillar supporting our business strategy. On the ethics side, the strategy talks about ethics. It is important,
But again, I felt like a blanket policy on this wasn't really appropriate. There's different use cases around AI, and some are high risk and some are low risk. So, you know, where people are using LLMs in the business to summarize a regulatory document or something like that, there's low risk around that. There is an element of risk that people take what comes out of that response and don't review it and apply their own kind of knowledge to it. But there's low risk around it. We don't want to restrict people starting to explore and experiment with those things. And where it's, you know, where we're deploying an AI tool that's using, you know, machine learning, predictive modeling, and that might be making some semi-automated decisions, that in itself is a big piece of work, you know, and we do risk assessments around those things, around big tech projects already. So we just needed to follow our own policies around that we robustly test these things, we understand the risks around them, we mitigate the risks, and we adapt as we go on if we feel that this, you know, that tool isn't working. So I felt that was specific to particular projects. So the strategy itself then was about 3 to 4 pages, not big, quite high level. You know, this is a rapidly changing environment, so we don't want to be too prescriptive in that strategy. We need to be fluid in there so we can adapt around it. But what I did was we brought in some supporting bits of information alongside that strategy. So and a couple of those key bits. One was, you know, I thought customer trust was a big thing around this, and I'd been thinking for some time that we needed a customer data charter anyway, to kind of go, look, this is how we use your data, and you know what, this is in a very positive way. We're trying to help you, we're trying to improve our services, and be really open and transparent about that. There'll be some customers who aren't comfortable with that, and some aren't. So we're extending it out to a data and AI charter. And it's just to be very, very plain and straightforward with our customers. Is we will use AI in some situations, but we will involve you in that. We will assess the risks around that, and our ultimate aim around that is to help and support you and improve and improve our services to you. So it's about, you know, so it isn't about making customers talk to robots, but about reducing that transactional interaction, so we can spend more time as an organization actually with those more personal and impactful interactions with our customers. And you know what, our customers don't want to interact with us on those transactional stuffs anyway. They just want to get it done and move on. I'm like that. I don't want to have a conversation with someone. It's like, here's an issue, get it sorted and move on. I want to get on with my life. So you know, so that was a big part of it as well. The other thing was about internal capabilities and knowledge sharing and use cases and understanding AI. So we came up with this idea of an AI Centre of Excellence, which is a self-selecting group of, I'm going to use the phrase AI evangelists, but I'm not quite comfortable with that, but it's probably there or thereabouts. And it's people across the organisations, different levels, different kind of roles, who are already starting to use AI, already understand it, are keen to see how we can use it in the organisation. And the role of that group is really to promote the use of safe and creative use of AI across the organisation, and helping the business think from a problem point of view first, and how AI might be able to solve that, rather than jump straight into, here's some AI, here's some tech, what can we do with that? So we're early days with that, and a part of that group as well, I think, is that helping with that unease about, look, AI isn't here to take your job, but it's here to actually make your life easier. It's here to help you with some of that daily grind that takes you away from doing your actual job, you know, and supporting that message. So yeah, so we're spinning that up. I hear people talking about rolling out Copilot, so we're doing a similar thing, but our approach with that again is, I've called it a pilot, but it isn't really a pilot. We've just got a first phase of rollout of integrated Copilot licenses, because we've already encouraged people to use the web-based lockdown version and start to play around with it and start to understand it. But we're going out to first kind of 50 people with the integrated one. What we said to them is, you are our not guinea pigs, but we picked you because we think you're a good mix across the organization, and now we want to see how you use it and develop some use cases from that, so that when we roll it out to more people, we kind of go, look, here's how you can use it in your roles, here's how you can use it to support what you're doing, because we just want to roll it out to people who are going to get benefit from it. There's a number of roles that that particular tool won't help them. Other AI tools coming on stream through other means will help people in different roles, and just understand how people are starting to use it and where we can use it really well. In terms of the strategy and kind of getting that in, you know, we communicated that across all levels of the organization. We're continuing to do that. So we've done sessions with the board. A guy came in on that, which was really helpful. We've done sessions with the leadership in terms of getting people to understand, again, getting the leadership to understand how we could start to move forward with it, how we can start to use it. And again, just having that really positive angle on this. It's like, of course, there's risk around this. You know, of course, we need to be careful around this, as we do with anything around data. Actually, it's the same thing, but it's like, let's not hold ourselves back here. Let's explore where we can start to use this in a really safe way. So yes, that's where we are at the moment.
Excellent, thanks, Mark. And I'm seeing there's lots of questions coming in the chat, but we'll address those at the end of this slot. So, Rich, you're up next.
Okay, right, I've just shared my screen. Can you see that?
Yeah, all good.
Perfect. Okay, so what one of the frustrations I've seen for like 20 years in the sector is that we've got these legacy systems and people just don't know how to get data out of them in an effective way. So yeah, I lead up a team of data engineers, BI analysts, and hopefully soon a data science arm to the team as well, or AI, or both. Sometimes people have a quick question, which is sort of when are or how many bathrooms are there due to be replaced? Normally I'd pass that to one of my engineers. The engineers would then write a little query for it, then someone will execute it and we get a result. What we've created is a trained GPT model, which is aware of our database schema, and I can ask it a question. So create me a 10-year table showing bathroom replacements. Now it's just going to create us that query now, but the way in which this got us thinking, if ChatGPT can produce us a query, can we get it to actually run the query as well, or build something similar? And that's what I'm just about to demonstrate to you beyond this. Just while it's perfect. Okay, so here we are. It's created us a nice little query. We could copy that into SQL Server Management Studio, and it will tell us for the next 10 years as columns how many bathroom replacements are due by property type. So it's good at creating a query. Bit of a shock when I showed this to my BI team, because suddenly they realized that something that would have taken them a couple of hours to pin down the perfect query, now technology can produce it in seconds. But then, as I say, we wanted to take it further. Can technology ask the question and then interpret it for us? So what you're seeing now on the screen is my homemade demo housing system. There's nothing too special about it. It's just got some properties, it's got some components, and it's got some repairs. It's just demo data, and you know, like everything we do, it's all just rows and columns in a database. So here is the SQL database. Beyond that, we can have a little look in the property database and we can see the properties there. And there's our results. So the real special bit about this, though, isn't the pretty interface or whatever. That could be anything. It could be any housing system, a finance system, whatever. The fact is we've got data in a database. It's all rows and columns. But it's this ask a query step at the end. And I can say how many properties, it doesn't even need to be correct, it'll work it out. Do we have in our database? And hit submit. It will go away, create the SQL query, and then give us the response after it's executed the SQL query. So we can see it's returned a single result. This is how many properties we've got. Try something a little bit more complex. How many, give me the top 10 properties that have repairs, and we can ask it that. Behind the scenes, it's going building that SQL query. Then it's returning the results. Then it's asking the same query again. And here we go, a list of our UPRNs that have had the most top 10 properties. So we can see that there's one here. Yeah, in fact, there's the full 10 are there. So there we are. Now, the magic behind what makes this work is just Power Automate. Nothing special, nothing that we've gone and bought. It's just Power Automate, which if you've got a 365 license, you've got it there. You need premium connectors to make it happen, but it understands our database schema, mixes it with the prompt, calls OpenAI to say, hey, make us a SQL statement. It then brings that back, tidies it up, executes the statement. Then it goes back to ChatGPT saying, we asked this, you gave us this, can you create us a good plain English response? It does that, and then it returns it to the website. Now, this just isn't possible with the legacy systems that are in our sector. And what we've created is just a web page which we could give to our trade guys who are out and about. We could give it to our neighbourhood officers, or we could give it to people in our call centre. When they're with the customer, they now have the power to just ask a question. They don't have to know the system. They don't have to know tables, different modules, things like that. They just ask a question and they can get some insight about those properties. Part of the reason I produced this is because we wanted to inspire people with AI. Copilot is just splattergunned everywhere at the moment. Everyone's got tools like GPT on their phone or DeepSeek, but this shows a real practical application of how we can use it with business data to quickly benefit our customers by empowering staff with information. Next stages for us with this is where it starts to get sort of even more exciting, and that's where we link this up to our data lake. So where we've got, say, 10, 20 different source systems, bit switchy, the housing system, dynamic CRM, it can aggregate data across multiple systems for a very informed response. We're also then looking at building feedback into it, so there's a continuous loop, so we can train the model behind the scenes. And then we're looking at how can we train people with it? How can we show them how to use it? And then from there, building up a roadmap of future development. Just a little bit of background with AI platform, though. We created an AI policy about a year ago. We're now at the start of trying to get the ISO 42001 standard in terms of AI governance, so that we've got a strong management system around it. And I'd really sort of say to people, go and play with this stuff. You can use it. It doesn't really cost much, and it can have a huge impact. Also, by doing things with properties rather than people, it takes out a massive fear factor with all of that, those ideas around customer data, and you shouldn't use customer data in AI. So if we can just lay it for now on our property data, whilst we're getting our certification and whilst we're building up this portfolio, it's starting to inspire people about how they can use AI. That's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that, Rich. I've not seen that before, so that was fantastic to see. Cheers. So we've got a number of questions in the chat. I suggest we also use the raise hands functionality. If you've got a question, use the raise hand, and then we'll run through those in priority order. So when you put your hand up, but perhaps off the bat, we can. There was a question in here. I can't remember the person. Oh, so much chat in the chat. So Barry, you had a question, and then if other people could raise their hand if they want a question asked.
Thanks, Guy. Thank you to all the speakers as well. Really appreciate you sharing all of that. It's great to see some of what you're doing. So the question is for Steve. So Steve, I think it sounds great what you were talking about. I think just to play back for a second, I think what you're describing is, and I'm paraphrasing here, by the way, but I think what you're describing is where you get an index score across your properties that is made up of financial and non-financial factors or measures. Which I think is a great idea. I think there's probably several of us who might be doing this already in some shape or form. So I think it's a brilliant one to share and collaborate with others as well. I know when I was at Hyde several years back, this is something that we would work with the, I think it was the development finance team to utilize for potentially looking at stock that we might want to sell on, or kind of maybe move out of a particular local authority or something like that. So there's loads of applications for it. So sort of put my hand up, really, I think would be the first thing to say in terms of involvement. Definitely be interested in helping. Is it something that you've already spoken to others about, Steve, in terms of that they are doing this already, or?
Yeah, we've had lots of conversations with different people about it, but this is the first time that I've shared it with a group. And I think, you know, we've all talked in the past about Decent Homes Plus, and yeah, you're right, the use case that you've just described. We're particularly interested in the tenant involvement in this through transparency, influence, and accountability through the consumer regulation. I think Richard just showed us it's possible, how you can you look into your data and start to build a picture of that. So yeah, brilliant stuff. And imagine, which is our big hairy goal, imagine if we just had a single national shared database of property and how much value that could be.
Imagine that. I think one of the challenges is going to be the consistency, isn't it? So data standards, right? I mean, are we talking about the same stuff? You say property, I say asset, that type of thing.
Yep.
And the other bit is the classic around consistency around the logic that we use for those measures as well. So, you know, you mean...
Yeah, but surely AI has got a role in helping us to classify as well.
Yeah, I think there's a place in there, but it's everyone talking about the same thing at the same time needs some set of clear standards on top of it, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I could go on about this for years, but
back to Steve.
Yeah.
So there's another question in the chat, which is about Copilot being relatively expensive to roll out on a wider deployment. Have providers considered using open source things like Meta's Llama, for example?
Yeah, that question came from me. Hi, Ian Mills from T-Motion. It was probably just an observation that almost every conversation I have at the moment, it's led by Copilot. And I'm thinking, well, that's absolutely fine if you are receiving, shall we say, early adoption incentives from Microsoft to do so, but the answer doesn't necessarily need to be Copilot. And if you are going to then roll out AI in anger across the organizations, then actually that then becomes quite an expensive way to do it. So there are other alternatives out there that you could be talking to vendors about.
I'll just come in on that, and you know, I mean, absolutely agree with that. You know, we're a Microsoft house in the organization, so perhaps it's a little bit lazy of us, and it's the easy option about that, and it's integrated around that, and it's familiar to people, so it is easier to roll out. But also the kind of security and all that side of it is, you know, that's baked into our current security procedures around that. Totally take your point on cost, which is exactly why we're rolling out in a phased way to understand who's using it, because our line is, if you're not using it, you don't have a license. So we want to see that, we're going to monitor it. Not everyone in the organization needs it.
We're just looking at sort of options of using ChatGPT possibly. I know you can do almost like a private, can't you? So we're just sort of looking into, because I think it depends what you want people to use it for. And I think this is the challenge sometimes, isn't it? I think it's like everybody wants AI, but when you actually ask to do what and what's the problem we're trying to fix, that is, you know, some of it is around making it easier for people, productivity, which kind of then Copilot you do think, but who is that and how? But I think it depends whether it's to write policy or to get answers to stuff, or to summarize stuff, then yeah, ChatGPT might be more of the option. So we're just looking at and wondering whether we'll end up with a mix rather than necessarily one fits all.
I have to say, we're at that mix point at platform as well. So we have got some Copilot licenses for the more sort of desktop power users, but we can't go too far with that. We've got 2,000 employees as an organization, so it just doesn't work. But also, when you get out for people that are out and about in the field, like your trades guys, they won't use Copilot, but they still need access to AI, which is why we're wrapping it up in discrete solutions, still using the OpenAI services, but we build that out in Azure within our Azure tenancy, so the data stays with us, but we can, in a low-cost way, just provide a web interface that they can use to interact with AI against our data. We've also built something else where it takes a document and it applies our tone of voice. So lots of customers write letters, those letters vary in quality, and we've yeah, we've got an AI system now where you can just upload the letter, compares it to our tone of voice, rewrites it, and gives them some feedback on how to get it better next time. But again, it's another sort of proprietary tool we've developed. Each letter that goes through it costs about 2p to run or something.
So I'm very sorry, I'm aware of time. So we've had lots of questions there. There's more coming, but I think we'll have to park it there. So I've just got a couple of polls that I'd like to do at the as we sort of end the session. Obviously, this doesn't mean it's the end of everything, right? So there's a couple of polls here. One is so that they're both really about the future of this group. So if you can fill those in there, then you'll be able to see the answers. So it's about what our focus should be in terms of outcome and in terms of the top priority topic that we might choose. I've chosen some things. I want all of these things. I think we probably all want all of these things. This is about a prioritization. And also, if you have any ideas about what else we should be doing, so my intention is that we meet probably monthly and do something that is targeted. So we've spoken a lot about Copilot. It might be that we should do a deep dive on that for a session, like spend an hour, go into breakout rooms, that kind of thing. Sort of adapt. It won't always be like this, right? Because this isn't where the value is at the beginning. This is important, but as we develop, I think we're going to need different things. If you'd like to be involved in organizing this, as in helping me to shape what this looks like, please drop me a note. So you can put it in the chat here if you'd like, or you can send me an email, and then that can help to sort of shape it as a longer term supporting bit of infrastructure for the sector. So really, anybody that would help would be fantastic. So we've taken recording of this and transcript. So actually on the top right of your screen, you might see Gemini is taking notes. So it's been taking notes throughout. It's been live noting. It's also formally taking minutes as well, just sort of because most of us are a Microsoft ecosystem, but this is a bit interesting to see. So hopefully that's all right. If anybody has, I'll hang around for another 10 minutes. If anybody wants to chat some more, please, we can continue on. Otherwise, this is all going to be made available. so hopefully you can then use that to collaborate afterwards. And thank you very much. Thanks to our speakers for being brave and going first.
Thanks for arranging it, Guy. It's been interesting.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Great.
I'll stop recording now.